If you're not happy and fulfilled in what you're doing and life is not good, you hit a rock bottom point, you hit something. And I've hit multiple in my life, like bankruptcy, accident stuff. Also almost died 3 times from gut problem. I was bleeding a lot. I had a parasite in Bali that almost killed me. I spent a whole week on fentanyl at the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
So there's a lot of things that were happening, and I was like, obviously, it's like every time something happened, when the body is not at ease, there's a dis-ease, you're gonna have symptom. Your body is warning you that something is not good, and my body kept telling me, you're changing, but you're still remaining similar in terms of there's still a lot of things you're doing that are not aligning. Keep cleaning, keep pursuing to become that person. So it was just a decision that I made. I was like, obviously I don't want to be that person anymore. And now it's time for me to step into who I'm going to be in the next few years, the coach that I am now. So let's start building that. Hi guys, I'm Mike Chabot. Welcome to Entrepreneur Unleashed. You're watching the show.
Hello again, everyone. I am your host, Edward Collins, and you are watching Entrepreneur Unleashed. This guys is going to be an amazing episode. We have Mike Chabot here in the studio. We're going to be talking about his journey of entrepreneurism. And if you know me by now, you know that I believe that the best shortcut in your journey is to learn vicariously from others. And that's what we're going to do right now. And I don't want to delay any further. Mike, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, man. Your place looks amazing. I love it.
Oh, thank you. It's definitely a work in progress. There's always more to do, but yeah, we have a lot of fun here at the studio, myself and the team.
It's inspiring.
Awesome. Well, I know a little bit about you, but I'm not sure the audience does. So what I'd like to do before we jump into like your story and your background, just tell me a little bit about where you are right now and what you're doing right now.
Awesome. So right now what I do is I help men take an holistic approach to their business journey.
Okay.
So what led me to do this, we'll go in the story, but now I live in Florida, beautiful wife, I'm going to have a kid. So life is good. And I have 4 pillars in life that I think I mastered, which is health, wealth, relationship, and happiness.
Okay.
And now I'm just living my best life and trying to help people, and especially men, because I coach men, to do the same.
Okay. And the journey that you're on right now, obviously, is going to be multifaceted. You're doing lots of different things in that assistance, that coaching, if you will. I'm just curious, like, what inspired you to get into that in the first place? Because I know that most people who get into coaching, it's usually something that's happened in their life. So tell me a little bit about that.
Little background story. I always been like a trouble kid, if you mean, like in terms of I had school was easy for me. I had A everywhere and stuff. So when it's easy, it's boring. So I started like disturbing class. I believe that the school system is outdated and it doesn't serve kid like me. Like a lot of people their kids are listening and stuff like that. I wasn't, because it was too easy. So I understood very quickly that the school system wasn't for me. And then I started looking for mentor. I always taught outside of the box and stuff like that. And growing up, I had a past of which we'll get to, but I was kind of a drug dealer, criminal, and all that stuff. And I got a big motorcycle accident, and 2 of my best friends died. So
oh my goodness.
I was like, okay, this is not working. Maybe I should try something else. And then I found some mentor, which one of them was Tony Robbins. He didn't mentor me personally, but I started looking at all his stuff.
Vicarious learning, which is what I'm all about, right?
Exactly. And then that's when it hit me. I was like, that's what I want to do. That's what who I want to become, like the next Tony Robbins, but just a different version. And that's what led me to the path of coaching and becoming the person I am today.
Where'd you grow up?
Montreal, like a little suburb of Montreal in Canada. So I'm French Canadian. And yeah, I would say that over there on top of it, there's a lot of small-minded mentality. It's not like the American dream, but it's just like, it's really hard to make $100,000 a year. It's really hard. You got to go to school. You got to have a job, and then everything is hard. And I was like, there's got to be another way. And I was looking.
Well, the vast majority of people here in the United States don't make $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, the average income is anywhere from $55,000 to $60,000, depending on which metric you look at, who's measuring, who's handling that measuring stick, if you will. But when it came to like your growing up itself, like what was like family life like then?
My family was amazing. I mean,
like supportive,
loving and caring. Yes and no. I mean, they supported me in terms of I could do whatever I wanted. My parents always backed me up. They didn't let the school put me in trouble and stuff like that.
Okay.
My dad come from the same background as me, so that's why I followed the step. Didn't have but with me they were always amazing. And the only like problem in my family, I would say, is money. Money always been a thing. Like my mom and my dad were fighting all the time. My dad is an NA and a gambler anonym. So he was working, but you know what I mean? And he was also gambling. And then my mom was working hard. She had a business, but money was always an argument. So in my head as a kid, I was like, there must be another way. I don't want to grow up fighting with my partner, my wife, whatever. Right. So yeah.
When you were growing up then, obviously school was easy. You weren't challenged, so you started acting out, and then you got into some really bad trouble, right? Like you started doing some bad stuff.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. Like, what was that like?
I never really got in trouble. I was smart doing it. And
you got away with it. You got away with it.
Yeah, I wasn't doing like a massive amount. I was doing an amount to kind of have a good life and being able to go to the restaurants and stuff like that. And I was also, at the same time that I was selling a little bit of drug, I was an entrepreneur. So I had a company at 18 years old. I had 12 employees, and I was doing like 2 jobs, and I had 11 class in college. So
oh my goodness.
I wasn't sleeping so much because I was partying all the time, but I was sleeping in school. But I was still having the best grade. And like weird shit started happening. I got accused of sleeping with a teacher to have the grades because I was sleeping in class, so they didn't believe that I got grades. Well. Yeah, it was a lot of things happening. I was like, okay, this is not working, and I just wanted to make more and more and more money, and I was like, I gotta work harder, you know, the hustle culture. But I understood very quickly that this was not gonna be for me.
Yeah. Now, tell me about that accident though. Like, what was that about?
Well, I was 19. I was driving a motorcycle, and
you were driving?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it was late, and I was like, I want to get home fast. And I was stupid. You know, you're young, you think you're invincible. And there's one thing I didn't predict is that there was going to be a hole in the road. And what happened is it was 2 a.m. And I shift every car on it was a turn, so I shift everybody at 240 kilometers an hour because I needed to go in front of the whole line. And then when I exited in the side, there was a hole. So my bike started did a wheelie. And then when I got it back down, we have something called steering dumping. I didn't have the controller on my bike, so my steering started to do like that. And then the steering locked and the bike flipped and projected me. So it was like 6 months of work, of everything, because I was on the, I don't know how to call it, but I had like skin burn everywhere. So they had to.
Road rash.
Yeah.
Is what we refer to it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was my fault. I take blame, but it was like life was telling me something. That's how I see it. Like I was not on the right path, and life wanted me to take a break. That's 6 months of what should I do with my life now?
Okay. And at the same time, you lost some friends, you were saying?
So, yeah, I had 2 best friends.
Okay.
That were selling drugs for me.
Okay.
And one of them was a drug addict, so he died from an overdose. And the other one, he just had a heart condition, and we went to party for his birthday. We took MDMA. The next day, I was still hangover, so I didn't go. He wanted to go again, and on that night, he died from a heart attack due to drugs. So I had 2 very back-to-back experience like that. And again, it's like you ask yourself, like, okay, maybe I shouldn't sell drugs. Like, it's not that you don't force people to consume it. Whoever wants to take it, take it. But I was like, maybe I'm not doing the right thing. Like, it's like, maybe I shouldn't align with that. And that's what life is trying to tell me.
And then was that turn like quick, or was like, did you transition slowly? Like, I mean, that had to have been like stressful for you to see your friends die. And
I mean, I had always that thing with that I believe that everything happened for a reason. So for me, it wasn't hard. I was like, okay, this is life telling me a message. Of course, you lose friends, so you're like, it's sad. But I was like focusing on what's the message, and then. Yeah, I just stopped one day to another. I was like, this is not for me anymore. I'm not going to sell anything. And I got rid of everything, and that's it. I started like...
cold turkey, like, boom, I'm just done.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went back. I also closed my company.
Okay.
And
what was that company doing, though?
Window washing.
Washing.
Yeah, okay. Residential window washing and gutter and stuff, because we have winter and spring and fall, and so leaf. Yeah. And I was also washing, I think it's called the cardboard of the house, like the side. And so I was doing that as a student, like it was a student business, and I wasn't so serious. Like, obviously, I was drinking all the time. I was doing my thing. So so when my employee were not showing up, imagine you're hangover at 5 a.m., your client called. It's like, hey, your guys are supposed to be here. I'm coming. And now, so I realized I wasn't able to manage that business, and it's not really what I wanted to do. So I closed it down too.
Okay. So is that when you like found out about Tony Robbins, or like?
Yeah. So how I found out about Tony Robbins is then I started looking at other avenue, and I started doing multi-level marketing. Okay. So some mentors that were making hundreds of thousands a month were telling me, Mike, you need to start reading book. You need to like find people that could mentor you and stuff like that. Didn't have money. Right. So when I closed everything, obviously my salary dropped.
Exactly.
And that's when I started finding Tony Robbins online. I knew about The Secret, but it wasn't working. I was writing myself check and stuff. Wasn't working, which I found later on why, which we'll talk about. But yeah, that's kind of what led me into Tony Robbins, Think and Grow Rich, how to make friends and influence people and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously those are some fundamental like strategies that truly can transform your life, but you have to be willing to accept it. Like, you were at a point in your life where you were receiving now, right? Because you really didn't receive much when you were in school because you just did well naturally, and you were like, as a teenager, you were just generally rebellious because of that. Yeah. But now you got to a position in your life where you're saying, okay, listen, I want something different for me. I'm willing to listen, and I'm open to it. So you start listening. What were some of like the initial things that were transformative for you?
Initially, I mean, starting to do the work. Okay. Because what I'll say now is, people when they see The Secret or Think and Grow Rich or stuff like that, they think, the book says it, Think and Grow Rich. I believe it should say Feel and Grow Rich. So the thing is, it's not only thinking. What you think about most of the time will realize if you match the vibration of what you want. So you need to feel like you're rich. You need to feel wealthy. You need to feel like when you start a business, you've had success. So when you start a business, you're like, this is going to go well. This is going to happen. I see the positive. But when you didn't have that before, I was like, it's not going to work. I might lose my money. I didn't feel like I was into money. I was like, I need money. I want money. So I wasn't doing things the right way. So obviously, manifestation and whatever they teach is good, and I was applying it, which led me to become a better person, which led me to be kind to others, because one of the things that I learned in how to win friends and influence people is you should leave people with a sense of value. So when you leave the room, I was the cool kid. I was selling steroids, drug, whatever at school. So not that I was a bully, but I was like, didn't really care about nobody. I was doing my thing, like, fuck everybody else. I'm the king. But it's not how you should live in life. And I learned it. That's when I got more in spirituality later on in my life. But that book taught me that you should be nice to people, because you never know, and genuinely nice, because you never know, maybe one day you need them, or maybe one day somebody can help you. And if everybody think you're an asshole, they're not going to want to do anything for you.
When you look at that stage that you're in now, like you're about to transition into adulthood, right? Because that's really what it's all about. You're becoming an adult. Like, were there any people in your life, like personally, like tangibly, where you could actually reach out and sit down and have conversations one-on-one, or was it all like vicarious? Was it all like Tony from a distance and stuff?
So all mentor. And what I did is, there was one guy that was doing, at that specific moment, I was like, what is the one thing? Because obviously I cannot be like what they used to call a life coach. I don't call myself a life coach. I call myself like just a guide. I'll guide you to the road to abundance. But the thing is, I was like, who done it? And what can I be one of the best in the world? I was genetically gifted with my physique. So I was like, I can be top fitness in the world. Right. So that's what I started looking. Who did it? And there was one guy called Mark Fit.
Mark Fit.
Yeah, he was a big influencer back then, like 5 million. We're talking about 12 years ago, 5 million followers on Facebook. I reached out to him. We had friends in common. I didn't know the guy. He was making $30,000 a month back then, like 12 years ago. The guy's huge. 20. Yeah. So one of the top influencer in the world. So I'm like, bro, I need to meet you. Would you agree to meet me in a coffee, and I need 30 minutes of your time? And he's like, yeah, sure. Okay. And in the meantime, I was trying everything, drop shipping, everything you can imagine.
All the stuff, right.
So I meet that guy. He gives me his recipe. I'm like, I'm going to do the same. So good looking man, my physique well, how your chest is, shoulder, and everything. It's genetic.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I started training. I was competing to Mr. Canada and stuff. So really fast, I got traction as an influencer, and I started getting like millions of views. So yeah, that's what I was like. This is gonna be my setup for becoming the coach that I want to be in the future.
What was the model that he shared with you?
He was like,
remember?
yeah, he gave me like some website to have a course, a login that you would coach people. He told me like,
he was sharing the funnel, basically.
Yeah, like kind of the funnel, and then he was sharing that what he was doing, posting twice a day, and kind of like the type of post. And then I started what we call funnel hacking. I started looking at his stuff, studying his marketing, studying everything. And then I was like, I'm the tattooed version of that guy, and I'm bigger and stronger and everything. So I was let me go do that.
Interesting. And how was that journey? Like, so you're now becoming an influencer yourself in the fitness environment. Like, what was that like for you?
The influencer part was really nice in terms of it was good for my ego, got a lot of view, got a lot of traction. The business part, because I was so much into money and not really serving, it wasn't so good. It was up and down. So when I was actually getting people on a call and closing, I was making a lot of money, but I didn't really care. So I was inconsistent. 1 week I would close 3, 4, 5 clients. The next week I wouldn't work.
Right.
So back to like the habits that I built as a drug dealer, and same when I had the company. It's like I would do 1 month of closing client for window. I would make 20,000, 30,000. Then I would stop, and then I wouldn't care. So not consistent effort.
What made you care? Like because that was pretty much your entire life up to that point.
Yeah,
you didn't care. Like, what started making you care?
How it was way later.
Okay, way later.
So I end up like stripping after. I got even more girls, started to have a lot of sex with a lot of women, fell in the dark hole. I had some issue inside of me with my self-worth, self-esteem. Like my ego was big and I was projecting to be self-confident, but I was not inside, and that's what I noticed later. So I was just doing whatever and abusing everything, and I ended up in a toxic relationship with a girl that I discovered she was graduated from the best university. She was amazing, but she was a prostitute on the weekend, which I didn't know. And 25, when I hit, after all that, 25, I go bankrupt.
Oh, wow.
So that's when I was like, life is not so good. Like, maybe I need to change everything and start to care. And that's when I went into spirituality.
Okay. Tell me about that journey. Like, how did you find spirituality in the first place?
It was always around, like Think and Grow Rich, they talk about it, The Secret.
It's definitely embedded in a lot of great books.
But it's so an underlying thing that they drop little seeds, but you have to understand and pick it up. So I started reading more and more and more book, and I started aligning myself. And when I got rid of the relationship and I understood what we call boundaries, and I was like, if the version of me that want the $1 million, the $10 million wouldn't do it, I shouldn't do it. And it wasn't like a clean cut, obviously, coming from having a lot of sex, doing all those things, building my paradigm and my habit the wrong way. You have to change all that. So it took me a few years, and I just keep diving deeper and deeper into all the spirituality, starting meditating. Within 6 months after I break up and I change all my energy, my circle and everything, I was making back like 150,000 a year, which in Canada was good. I had a brand new Mercedes, luxury apartment, things were rolling. I was still empty inside. So I was like, gotta go deeper. And then at one point I was like, my environment, I had multiple friends. I wasn't really doing anything illegal anymore, but I had a crew of friends that were still in the game. So I was like, maybe I need to cut everything and I love those people. They're good people to me, but maybe what I'm doing now is not working. So I left for Bali. I left traveling 7 months, and I lived in Bali for 3 months to try to find who's Mike Chabot and what's the next move.
I want to unpack a number of the things that you talked about just in that quick little segment, because I think it's really important. You were talking about like looking at the things that you would be doing if you were at a particular place and then start doing that. I refer to that as like the law of prerequisites. For me, it's like if you want something, you have to become the person you want to be before you're actually that person, right? You have to do the things that, like, if you want to be healthy, you don't start doing healthy things once you're healthy, right? You have to do the healthy things to become the healthy person. Yeah. Same thing with like fitness. You can't become fit and try to do fitness routines after you're fit, right? You have to do the fitness routines to get fitness. The same thing with wealth, right? You can't act wealthy once you're wealthy. You have to act wealthy before you are, because you'd have to do all the things that make you wealthy before you can become it. So I call that the law of prerequisites. Yeah. And the same thing seems to be what you were talking about, like, what would my millionaire self do? Like, would I be doing this type of thing if I was a millionaire? No, then I'm not going to do it, because I want to be the millionaire. I want to be the multimillionaire. I want to be the business owner, whatever it may be. So that's hugely important. I love the concept about the friends and networks too, because I think that holds a lot of people back. Some people believe you have to cut ties entirely, and there's some argument to be said that no, you can keep people in your life. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that at least from my perspective, I think that vibration, whatever it is, it's catchy, right? And if you are in an environment that is surrounded by people who do not think the way you think and are not interested in the things you're interested in from an accomplishment standpoint, that just serves to hold you back.
Yeah, totally. I would say, like, regarding could you keep some friend? Yeah, if you want, like, but there's one concept that I mentioned before is what you think about most of the time. So if those friends are your tight circle, that's when it's a problem. If you see those friends once a month to go dinner, whatever, you can keep them. I would say at some point you have to cut everybody out, like, and you can do it gradually, like, and see if you want to keep them or whatever. But yeah, at some point I decided that I had to cut ties, and just, it's not that they're not good people. It's just I didn't want to like vibrate with that anymore. So I was like, I need to clean. And that's when I moved to LA too, because I needed to change the whole, everything.
Yeah, I think that there's something to be said about this concept of knowing that there's going to be a cost to anything, right? So you either are willing to sacrifice for what you want most, or what you want most becomes the sacrifice, right? So you have to make those decisions. And then I'm not saying it's easy. That's not what I'm saying at all. But the concept is simple, right? It's just you have to implement it.
Yeah, it's easy depending on what you value. So a lot of people are like, it's hard. No, it's not. It's like, it could be seen hard, but if you want it, you do it. That's it. And action will prove what you truly value in life.
Well, that's discipline in general.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? When you're going through this phase, was Bali first or was LA first? Like California?
So I've been going to LA back and forth because I had a friend living there that moved from Montreal since 24. But I moved to Bali, like spending time there at 27, 28, like around that time. And then after Bali, when I found who I was and how I wanted to do things, and it's nothing ever permanent. It was, for now, that's how I'm going to do things. I moved back to, like, I came back to Canada. I spent some time with my family for Christmas. And in January, right before the pandemic, I moved to LA.
Okay. So you were living in LA during the lockdowns and everything happening.
It was good.
That adventure, like, tell me about that, because I know that a lot of people, like, LA is very different than Montreal. So obviously it's also different than Bali too. So what was that experience like for you in your entrepreneurial journey now? Because you're now at this point starting to think about, how do I actually create something that's truly a going concern that is important to me, and I feel fulfilled in doing that. Like, what was that like for you?
So when I moved to LA, obviously Bali was like retirement for me. So I was like, if I stay here, I feel like I'll be too spiritual and not really driven for stuff. So I was like, I know myself, and it's not like that for everyone, but I was like, I need some motivation and kind of like be forced to make money. Sometimes I like to force myself to make it, so I'll make it. So I moved to LA. LA is the most expensive city. Well, now Florida is probably equal.
Florida's getting there, especially Miami.
It's the same. Restaurants are more expensive here, but LA, the rest is still more expensive. But I was like, I got to make it there. And for a one bedroom in LA, Marina Del Rey, it's like $4,000 if you want anything decent, like 2005. Like, so I was like, I need to make it, and I'll need more money. I'll be hustling. I'll be doing what I should be doing, and I'll figure it out on the way. And at the same time, when I moved to LA, I was at a point that I was like, I was sponsored by Bang. I had a lot of collabs as an influencer and stuff like that. I was like, I need to stop everything that I don't want to do. And also, I thought about quitting social media. So I was like, I'm tired of everything. I realized it when I was in Bali. I'm like, I'm tired of that. But I wasn't really tired of social media itself. I was tired of who I was on social media, which wasn't necessarily my true self.
Right.
And because I was a hot fitness influencer, I had a lot of audience that were that. So I was like, you know what? Let me cut the IG in between two things. So I was like, now, as of now, I'm only going to be posting like stuff that align with the person I want to be.
Okay. How did you make that decision though? Like, because that in and of itself is a tough decision. Like, who are you going to be? Not just internally, but to the world, right? So what was that an internal dialogue? Did you have outward discussions with any mentors at that point?
It was internal. Like, if you're not happy and fulfilled in what you're doing, and life is not good, you hit a rock bottom point. You hit something, and I've hit multiple in my life, like bankruptcy, accident stuff. Also almost died 3 times from gut problem. I was bleeding a lot. I had a parasite in Bali that almost killed me. I spent a whole week on fentanyl at the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
So there's a lot of things that were happening, and I was like, obviously, it's like every time something happened, when the body is not at ease, there's a dis-ease, you're gonna have symptom. Your body is warning you that something is not good, and my body kept telling me, you're changing, but you're still remaining similar in terms of there's still a lot of things you're doing that are not aligning. Keep cleaning, keep pursuing to become that person. So it was just a decision that I made. I was like, obviously I don't want to be that person anymore. And now it's time for me to step into who I'm going to be in the next few years, the coach that I am now. So let's start building that.
Okay. And but you're doing this now in LA, in California. You're trying to build this new version of you.
Yeah.
And you're focusing much more on the dads, if you will, the men, if you will, that are in your social media type of environment. What was it that you started doing first with them? Like, that was different than what you were doing beforehand?
So I wasn't really selling anything at that point. I wasn't training people. I wasn't doing anything. So what I did in order to make a lot of money fast, to fuel what I wanted to do, I cut my IG. I started posting everything I was doing, spirituality, everything.
Okay.
And I started an OnlyFans.
Okay.
So I was like, OnlyFans is going to fuel everything. Okay. So what I did is there was no nudity, no nothing. But all the content that I used to post for fitness, flexing, and everything on OF.
Okay.
And I made like quite a lot of money with it. And I invested hundreds of thousands in personal development. So I did so many different things. I didn't waste the money for cars or anything like that. I just fueled.
You invested in you.
Everything I wanted to become that coach. I was like, what is missing? So I did neuroscience, yoga, breathwork, chakra. Like I invested in a fitness app, like 300,000 to help serve people. I did so many things in order to become that version, and that I cut every influencer deal that I didn't want to do. Like, because at some point I was like, it doesn't align with me. But when they're paying a lot, I was like, I need something now to replace that income while I build this thing that I want to do. So that's what I did in LA.
Now, what was the biggest thing that held you back from the next transition, though? Because you're now ready to make that next jump.
Yeah.
Like, what was stopping you at that point?
It was at that specific point when I arrived in LA, it was, again, the same insecurity that I was not good enough. Like, from that led me to this sex addiction and everything.
That impacts so many business owners, though. Like, so many people like think that they're not good enough. They're not. They have that almost like an internal enemy stopping you from making that transition. How did you break free of that voice, though? Like, that's what I'm like so curious about.
We can go more in detail in the segment while I'll give tips on it, but basically what you call, I don't remember how you call, like, when you change your identity.
Yeah, so you're going through this process.
That's what I call it, changing identity. I know you had another name to it. So
I have it, the law of prerequisites.
Yeah, so I call it identity shifting. You have to become the person you want to be.
Okay. But you were willing to do that. Like, so many people, like, like I have conversations with business owners all the time, and that tends to be a common theme. They're not. They have these insecurities. They think that they're not good enough to take that next step. Yeah. And they can't stop that voice in their head. Yeah. And that's the hardest thing.
Your paradigm is your multitude of habit. That could be the summary of the word. If you change your paradigm, which is changing your habits, doing will make you believe and will make your brain believe that you're actually enough. So there's no other way than getting started.
Right.
Like, because I studied since I was 18, even maybe earlier than that, for the last at least 15 years, 3-4 hours a day, watching podcasts, seminar, books, everything, you name it. I've done it all, plus mentor, plus hundreds of thousands. Right. So at some point I was like, what is holding me back? And then 2 years after LA, when I was like rolling at a penthouse in Beverly Hills, like I had my dream car, like money was good. I was traveling the world. And I called one of my friends that is 50 years old. It's one of my best friends. He's a multi-millionaire. And I was like, his name is Mike. I was like, Mike, look, I want to coach people like you. So what is the deal? What do you think is holding me back? And then we determined that I was basing my value on how much money I was making. And yes, I made $1 million at that point, and that was always my goal since I was a kid. And I think that's where the trauma came from, because I told everybody in high school and even younger that I was going to be a millionaire at 25, and I was bankrupt at 25. So it hit me hard. And I was basing my value on millions of dollars. And then he told me, Mike, he's an extremely successful person, super smart. He's like, you're the only guy that challenged me in the last 5 years and made me do change in my life. He's like, your value is not how much money you make, but how you can make people change. And I was like, yeah, I'm not selling business. Technically, I'm improving the business person, but I'm not selling you. I could teach you how to make $1 million now in business and stuff, but what I'm teaching is actually the person you need to become, the mindset. So I was like, that's when it clicked. I was like, I'm ready. It's now. It's like, I've done enough. Now let's take action. And it's not an easy journey. Like, when you start something new, there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be stuff. So that was right before I moved from LA to Florida.
Okay.
And I started building the course, and I started building how I was going to help people, and starting getting closer and closer to my ideal client.
When that journey to your ideal client, like, was that something that you sat down and like drew an avatar about? Like, tell me about that process.
Yeah.
I think a lot of business owners also struggle there.
Yeah, I'm really good at manifesting.
Okay.
So in case people don't know, manifestation is when you align with yourself and things start coming effortlessly. You become a magnet instead of chasing. So at that specific point in my life, I also manifested my girlfriend. And there was one missing piece. It was building the course. I had a lot of knowledge, but I didn't know exactly how to structure it to help people. And it was funny enough that she was doing exactly that for one of the most successful guy online in business coaching.
Wow. Okay.
So she used to do that. So now she arrived in my life, and she's like, hey, babe, that's exactly what I know how to do. So I'm like, oh, nice. Okay, let's put a plan. So we put a plan together. We get a whiteboard, who I want to help, what I want to do. It wasn't perfect.
No.
Far from it. I started sketching it. Then we started building the course. Kind of like, I started like looking at every successful and abundant person I know. Not only money, because for me, money is just one aspect. It's like health, wealth, relationship, and happiness. If you have those 4 pillars in life, then you'll be abundant, you'll be successful in my eyes. So I was like, what is all those people that have that I've been doing from the start, including myself? And I started laying out what I call the road to abundance, the journey in order to reach abundance.
Okay. When you're sitting back and you're saying, okay, now I'm in Florida, I have this road, this journey to abundance.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for myself, obviously, and now I'm doing it for others.
Yeah.
How quickly did that take off for you?
So funny enough, the first week that I launched the course, I made $36,000. First week I launched, everything is going. I have 150 leads to call, but it's my first business like that. I've been an influencer for 10 years, making all my money influencing, like hundreds of thousands, doing influencer deal, and millions of followers. So I'm not exactly the perfect business guy. So it was a little bit all over the place. I didn't follow all the leads. I signed those 6 clients at the beginning in order to make sure that everybody get result. And I guaranteed the result, because if you follow the program 12 weeks, you'll have result, guarantee. So the thing is, I was like, wait, I need to put a hold, because I'm losing leads everywhere. My pipes are leaking. And I can't follow up with everybody. Like, I can't do 150 calls. So And one other thing that I noticed in myself, even at that point, because I'm not perfect, is I didn't get excited. Like, I got excited to help those people, but my girlfriend's like, babe, we should celebrate the 36K in a week. I'm like, nah, I don't care. When we make a meal, we celebrate. And then I had multiple talks.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay.
And I was like, oof, wait. Because I was at that point making months with influencer and everything between 50 to 80,000 a month.
Okay.
For the last 2-3 years. So didn't get excited for an extra 36 because I wasn't even using my money. I was just stacking everything to invest in myself. So I was like, what's another 36? I don't care. It's not going to change my life. That's when I knew there was something that I needed to shift there again. So I'm a big believer in psychedelic and meditation and stuff. So I did multiple psychedelic hero dose through the period of 2-3 months. I did like 3. And one of them, I saw clearly a vision of myself. Like I had a talk with my higher self, and there was a lot of other successful people that I value, that I could feel their energy. And they told me, we're watching you right now, but you're wasting a lot of time. You're not the person you should be. You're still involved in OF, even though you don't like it. You're still doing, and like, you're still doing all those things that doesn't serve you. You're still gaming at the computer. You're still like, because when you make all that money doing what I call, it's not nothing, but it's very little work, which I used to like. But in order to become, I needed way more input and way more focus. So I was like, I end up the shroom journey. I look at my girl, I'm like, wait, start the camera. And I go, and at that moment, OnlyFans was still making me like $500,000 a year, and my other stuff, I cut everything, dropped every sponsor, cut OF one shot. It was in November last year. And I was like, I'm done. I'm gonna show people that when you want to do something, you have to believe 100% in you and in your faith. And everybody's like, it's easy for you because you make a lot of money. I was like, now I'm gonna risk it all. The $1 million house, the car, everything. I come from bankruptcy. I don't give a fuck. Nobody backed me up in my life. I was like, I'm gonna show you that if you put effort and you align yourself, and it's not starting from zero, because I have 15 years of stuff. And I invested a lot of money in my personal development, which nobody can take away from me. So I was like, now with all that knowledge, now it's time to become that person. So everything that didn't align with the person I wanted to be, got rid of.
Wow. Now, that is not the case that most people can go through. Most people would never pull the trigger on that.
Yeah.
But you did, and really you did it because you could mentally, right? You've invested significant time, effort, and dollars into developing who you are right now. That obviously gives you an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting down and you're coaching other business owners, you're coaching other men in their journey, is there any one particular thing that becomes that resonating piece for you to connect with them on?
I mean, everybody wants more in life and want to be happier. So that's the thing. At the end, people think they do for the money. People think you want, like, the thing you hear often is like, I want $1 million. Cool. Why?
Right.
Well, it's not the $1 million you want. It's the freedom. You want to feel love. You want to help people around you. You want to do something that you love. And you think that $1 million will give you freedom to do all those things.
Right.
So actually, you're looking for a feeling. You want to feel worthy and you want to feel love. So let's change everything. Let's reset up your goal. Let's do everything the proper way. And then if the person cannot quit their job or cannot quit what they're doing, let's figure out when and how you're going to do it and what does it take to do it. So a lot of people doesn't have the balls to do it. A lot of people could say, I have kids, I cannot do it. Fine, but what are you doing with your time? What are you doing with the rest of the time that you're not working? Because when I was building my social media, I was working at the bank at some point. I was VP of credit. I was at TD Bank, the biggest bank in Canada. I was number 1. And that's when I started the social media right before stripping. And then I quit the bank too fast I was in a line, and then that's when the bankruptcy happened a year and a half later. But the thing is, now I know what the mistake are, and that's why the program is on 12 week, because with 12 week of effort, and you really do it, and you do the call with me, you'll have change. There's an accountability partner. There's a study that says that it increases your chance to achieving your goal by 98%. 98 is like, bro, it's like, okay, if you don't want to invest in yourself, it's because you don't believe in yourself, not necessarily the coach or the guide.
When you look at it, Harvard did a study too, just talking about the people you surround yourself with. 96% of your milestones of success are dependent upon the people who are around. So if you can align yourself with the right people, and you can actually do things consistently that lead you to the outcome that you actually desire, you'll get it, right? But you have to take the step. And so many people just aren't willing to do it.
So there's two things that I noticed, especially for men, okay? That's why the suicide rate is through the roof.
Yeah.
We're such in a rush. Everybody want it now. We compare ourselves with social media. Now the trend is like, I bought this $10 million house in 1 year. No, who's your investor? What did you do? Like, it's such a trend. And maybe the guy was doing drop shipping for 4 or 5 years and now he's having results. And he's bragging that he did it in 1 year, but doesn't show everything that fell before. So first, you're not self-made. You had mentor, you had help. Second thing is it took way more time than you acknowledge, and you want to seem cool online because you want people to buy your course. Like, that's the thing. It's like, take your time. Like, if you guarantee people, you're like, look, if I could guarantee them within the next 10 years you make $1 million, would you do it? Yeah, then start doing it. Because we underestimate what we can do on 10 years, but we overestimate what we can do in a year. Yeah. I've been posting on social media for a long time. Like, YouTube didn't pick up for me. I'm still trying to figure it out. This year, I'm going to give it like a fair go, real focus. I'm having my podcast. I have like 42 episodes. It doesn't have so much traction. The podcast maybe gets 200 views, 300 views, but it's impacting some people. So I'm still doing it. And one day it will go. And Alex Hormozi said that his podcast, he had it for 4 years.
4 years, nothing.
With nothing. And now he's like super famous. So people quit too early and they don't want to put their head down because they're so focused on, it's like when people train, they do the same in business. They focus on the scale. But start focusing on how you feel, how you look. Are you better every day? Same thing with the business. They focus, I didn't make $1 million, I didn't make 500,000, I'm gonna quit now, it's not working. Chill. And I saw like a video of a guy on YouTube, and the guy showed that his income in 2022, $7,000, okay? So, and everything happened more around November, December. The guy started in January, barely getting 10 view, 100 view. And then he shows his income in 2023 when he started figuring it out, because he was posting 1 or 2 videos a week. He made 650,000. So who would have kept going after 1 year of posting every single day without making money? That's what it took for me at the beginning. Influencer was not a thing 10 years ago. I can tell you, I was the only guy shirtless in the gym with my camera doing fitness. It wasn't cool. People were looking at you like you're weird. And I did it for 2-3 years before I started actually making money. Because imagine convincing all those business to invest with yourself because it's the new TV. Now everybody got a phone. Everybody want to be an influencer. And again, we're promoting not the reality about influencer. And that's another thing that I'm aiming to change this year with the mindset is like, what does it really take to influence people and to keep yourself and be your real self and not only strive for money and quick cash?
That's a perfect segue. Like, what do you see happening now over the course of the next 2 to 5 years for you?
So now I just finished my book, my first book.
Congratulations. I didn't know that. That's definitely new for me. Okay.
Yeah. So it was a process. Took me 8-9 months. Obviously, English not my first language. And I wanted to be amazing, kind of the alchemist style. Okay. It's spiritual mindset, everything. Okay. So
what's the title?
It's called The Book of Hakeem.
The Book of Hakeem. Okay.
So Hakeem is Mike, like my real name is Michael, M-I-K-E-L. I flipped it upside down, shortened it, so it's Hakeem. Okay. And he's Arabic, and he's going through a journey, and that's what I want to take the reader through, the journey that it takes. It's kind of my story, but little romance. Okay. Like, it's not exactly the guy's not selling drugs or doing anything, but he's going through his own challenge. And I want to make sure that people understand that everybody has challenge, but nobody care. Right. The reason you're not succeeding is because of your biography. You keep telling your story to people, and I want them to realize that everybody has a story. Until you decide to change it, it's not going to change. So my book is releasing. Soon I want to start writing my second book, which is going to be more like Think and Grow Rich or whatever. It's going to be like proper content, but not before the next 2 years. I'm going to take time to put it together. Okay. I want to start giving more talk, conference. The podcast is going to keep going. And I'm focused 100% on the coaching business. Okay. So coaching like mindset and stuff, and I'm going to combine one of the part of the program that people will have access will be social media and personal branding. And at the same time, now I'm launching my supplement company, which is going to be, there's a special project coming. It's a drink. It's something that nobody ever seen before. And I don't believe in caffeine. I don't believe in all that bullshit. It kills your brain and put it in better brain waves. So I want to do something that will help people, that they can take at any time of the day, because you should not take caffeine after 12. That will give you brain function, activity, neuroplasticity, and a lot of things that are cool. I've been on that project for 8 years, and I just manifested the investor 3 months ago. So now they contacted me, and they're like, Mike, you're the perfect person for the brand. We like your message. Is there anything you want to do? I'm like, I want to do this. And we're on the way to doing it.
Awesome. Well, there's a thing I like to do with all the guests that come on. I like to do this mental exercise.
Yeah.
Would you mind going
Sure.
down this path with me?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, if you had the power to go back in time to visit a younger version of Mike,
Yeah.
and you could share one piece of wisdom with that younger version of you, who would you go back to, meaning what age and what was going on in your life, and what would you share?
I mean, I could go back up to 15, but I would say the age that popped in my mind would be 19.
Okay.
I'd have 30 motorcycle and everything when I
Right
started
after that.
seeing
Okay.
like Tony Robbins and stuff. And I would say take your time. Like, don't have such a fear of missing out. And that's what my focus was not right, because everybody come with new project, a new thing. It's like overhyped optimism, but you're uninformed. So every project looks cool. You start doing this and this and this. I would be like, look, your passion is this. Work for it for the next 10 years. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't, and don't let anybody influence you, and just keep your head down and focus. And I would make him have self-confidence, like true self-confidence, explain him, because all my ex cheated on me. There's a lot of things that happened with girl that's why I became hot. That's why I became in shape. That's why I wanted to prove every girl I was the best. That's why I was having sex with all those women. At the end, it's because I didn't love myself. Right. So I would tell him, like, love yourself. You are enough. Now work towards your goal for the next 10 years, and don't give up.
Wow. Now, imagine for a moment then that a future version of Mike has come back in this moment that we're sharing together, and he's going to share a piece of practical wisdom with you.
Yeah.
What does he share?
I would say it's the same. Like, because even for me, this year was hard. Like, it's not because I have the balls to do what I did and drop all the money that it was an easy journey, because I was used to a certain lifestyle. I was used to spending money. I was used to like doing things and not really thinking, because whenever I want to go to a trip, I can do it. Now, when I started from zero income to do my journey, there was some mental challenge that I was like, fuck, I'm going to quit this. Like, it's not working. Like, I want to help people, but why it's not picking up? But the thing is, it's a journey. Like, you have to be patient. And that's what I remind myself every time there's a hard stuff. Like, if you have a course, you have all those things. At the beginning, I do everything by myself. I hired agency, I hired stuff, but it was not working. You're wasting money. You're losing money. There's a lot of like learning curves. So when it was hard, I remind myself that, hey, do you believe in this? And yes, I do 100%. Just keep going, because when it's going to unlock, I saw you have the compound book on the table, and that's one thing I teach is everybody know that the 1 cent multiply every day for 30 days, and it's only the last 2-3 days that it goes from 500,000 to a million to 2.6 million to 5.2. So the thing is, all the leverage happened in the last fucking 4 days. Yeah, everything else, it looks like it's not working. Exactly. So that's the same. It's like people think it's hard to make money. It's super easy. You just got to stay consistent, and at some point you'll be making 5,000 a month, then 10,000, then 20, 30, 40, 50, because once you reach that 50, 60, depending on what you're doing, then you just turn up the scale.
Correct.
And once you reach 50 a month, it's because your operation, your SOP and everything is on point.
Correct.
And things are good. And not only that those things are good, but the mindset behind is good. If you have 1 year in business at 50,000 a month, normally you're doing something good. So now let's find what it is. Let's tune up what is not, and you're going to crank it. So now I'm on my way to that 50 because I had some ups, some downs, So now we're figuring it out with my team. Now I think we found a good formula. So we're going to apply it. And I would say to myself, don't quit. Like, you're on the way to doing it. Just keep doing it. Like, and even if it's hard, it's part of the journey.
I love it. See, the younger version of Mike got some good wisdom. The current version of Mike got some good wisdom.
Yeah.
I don't want the audience to feel left out, though. So if you had one piece of advice to give to someone who's watching, who's listening to this episode, like, what would that one piece of practical wisdom be?
Invest in yourself. That's the one thing that nobody can take away. There's a recession, there's anything, nobody can take away the money. You go bankrupt tomorrow, nobody can take away all the money and all the time you invested in yourself. And the thing is, it's not the $1 million that matters, it's who you become making that million. So the thing is, Tony Robbins go bankrupt tomorrow, I can guarantee that in the next 5 years he's back to $1 billion. The thing is, same for you. you built a certain wealth because you're doing things a certain way, and how you do one thing is how you do everything. A lot of people forget that, and they're a 4 on 10 there, a 2 on 10 there, and then they want a 10 on 10 on wealth. It doesn't work like that, man. You gotta show up
all the time.
Invest in yourself and find someone that have the life that you want and is doing what you want. So if it's me, it's me. If it's Edward, it's Edward. But find a mentor that resonate with you, and that you're looking and you're like, I love his life. I would love to have that. Take his recipe and apply it. That's what I did with every mentor.
I love it. Now, if the audience wants to get in touch with you, learn more about it, like what would be the best way for them to do that?
So social media, Mike Chabot Fitness on Instagram. I cannot change my username because it would be changed, but Mike Chabot Fitness, even though I don't do fitness anymore.
Okay.
That's it. And Mike Chabot on the other platform. So they can just reach out to me in the DM if they have a question, if they want to understand how the program work and stuff. I have a free course that is out for them that gives them a sneak peek, free resource. Everybody, we can put the link in.
Definitely go into the show notes for sure.
And they can just start having a kind of a sneak peek of how I operate. And then after the free course or before, they can book a call and I can tell them what it entails to do the 12-week program with me. And I can get them started and on the way to achieving their goals.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you being here and sharing so genuinely. I love your story, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it continues to evolve. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, man.
100%. This has been another episode of Entrepreneur Unleashed. I'm your host, Edward Collins. I know 100% you've enjoyed that. Don't go anywhere, because at the end of the day, you should be following this guy and watching for the next awesome episode to drop. Until then, be well. Bye for now. Mike, that was awesome.
Thank you.
Great job.